It's nice to be on this chair. I just want to share a really fun fact about Elizabeth Stark. I met her in January, and we were in the same van, which broke down. So we spent about 5 hours together, and I think that's where we started bonding. And 6 months
We had
later,
adventures, let's put it that way.
yeah. And 6 months later, we're now here having this awesome conversation. So obviously, in getting to know her, I just realized how much a wealth of information and knowledge she has about Bitcoin and Lightning. So I wanted to start with that, Elizabeth. In your opinion, what is the role of Bitcoin and Lightning in supporting the human rights community?
First of all, it's so incredible to be back here in Oslo. I've been here the last couple of years now, and to meet the activists and to hear the real life stories. Because sometimes when you're, in technology and you're a founder and you're building and you get so deep into the protocol and technology, it's so crucial to have the reminders of the real world use cases and how this changes lives. So, we've heard so many stories already today. I know we're gonna hear a couple more as well later. And the way that I think about it is, was just chatting with Odell outside, in fact. Bitcoin is a movement, right? So Bitcoin is not just about technology, it's not just about money, it's very much about freedom, but it's something that people really believe in, and it's something that motivates so many people. And when it comes to human rights, so I'm incredibly passionate about open source technology, and even in my pre-Bitcoin life, it's, by the way, hard to imagine a pre-Bitcoin life, but I had one. Open source and peer-to-peer technology was something that I deeply cared about. Also human rights, so I actually, when I was a student, did a number of projects around human rights. And the ability to combine both the open source peer-to-peer technological angle, the financial freedom angle, and the human rights part is really what inspires me in this community. The idea that people come to Oslo from all around the world to meet activists, to hear their stories, and to figure out how we can better serve them. So shout out to Lynn, who's also a good friend of mine, incredible talk. But Lynn has referred to this idea of utility to speculation ratio. And the idea with Bitcoin and with Lightning and what we're building, and by the way, I think many people have heard of Lightning, but just for any activists or those that are not familiar, at the high level, Lightning is a network operating on top of Bitcoin that's fully decentralized, peer-to-peer, that enables instant high-volume transactions with low fees, really trying to bring Bitcoin to the entire world and Bitcoin to billions. And when we're building this technology, we want to optimize for this utility. And we want to enable people to use Bitcoin globally. And we've heard, we had a talk earlier around fees, right? Fees on Bitcoin can spike and can go up. And that's how Bitcoin works, and that's actually what the incentive structure of Bitcoin's base layer is. But for those that are looking to have, say, day-to-day or a number of donations we've heard about just now in Lightning, we're building technology that enables people to scale Bitcoin to the world. And when it comes to these activists, Anna, hearing her story about how the bank account was just completely shut down. It went to zero, maybe even negative, right? No one controls Bitcoin, right? And that's what makes it, I think, so key for the human rights community. The internet, encryption, the ability to send information freely, to do so privately, is something that actually got me interested in the internet before Bitcoin. And now you have both the information angle and the financial and value-based angle where anybody can transact globally. And by the way, this whole aspect of control is so critically important, because if you look at, say, other technologies, protocols out there, Hal Finney predicted there would be many quote-unquote copycats. Bitcoin is unique in that regard. No one controls Bitcoin. And the absence of control is actually what makes it so secure and so powerful, and what makes it so critical for human rights activists, people that say they want to stop Bitcoin. Like, for years, there was this idea that governments were going to ban Bitcoin, and we did hear, say, Bolivia did, but by and large, they cannot stop it. And this peer-to-peer decentralized nature is what makes it accessible to people globally around the world, and the fact that, somebody just cannot shut it down is what makes it so valuable. So when it comes to use cases, the donations, the ability to pay people, the ability to transact instantly, globally, without a third party or central intermediary, are all the reasons why we need to keep working on Bitcoin and making it secure and accessible.
Totally. And what about stablecoins on Lightning? Can you talk about first explaining stablecoins and then why it's useful for it to be on Lightning?
Yeah, so absolutely love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the holy grail. It is decentralized. But we've also heard stories about how people globally want access to the US dollar. And today it is the world's reserve currency. We'll get to the point where it becomes Bitcoin later on, and watch this space. But there's demand for it. And the way that I think about it is there's trillions of dollars of stablecoin volume globally. A lot of people in emerging markets are using it. You know, Bitcoin has volatility. We know this, but it is fully decentralized, and that makes it secure. Stablecoins have less volatility vis-a-vis fiat, but of course they're centralized, and you have parties that control it. By the way, also getting a Bitcoin-backed stablecoin, I know HRF has done work on this, and there are people working on it. It is also a really interesting technological, idea that people are working on, so excited about that. But for now, we do have somewhat centralized stablecoins, so you're sacrificing some degree of centralization, but you have less volatility. So my idea, and within the community, what we're looking at is, let's bring that to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is the most secure blockchain. It has the most hash power backing it up. It has the most liquidity. It is, used by the most people around the world. Jack Dorsey has said Bitcoin has a brand. Like, people recognize it and they know about it. So why don't we bring those users to Bitcoin? And by the way, the way that I see it, so we at Lightning Labs have been working on a protocol. We've put it out to the community. We've had devs from across the community contribute called Taproot Assets. There are other people working on assets on Bitcoin. But let's bring all the people globally, many of whom are living, say, in the emerging markets, in authoritarian regimes, that want dollars to Bitcoin, right? So we can issue stable coins on top of both Bitcoin and then on Lightning. And then, okay, so maybe people have some dollars in their wallet, but they're also able to get Bitcoin. And then they wonder, okay, so maybe I have my dollars and then I get more Bitcoin, and then, they gradually enter into Bitcoin. So the way that we see it is, let's bring this to the global population that today wants dollars, or maybe thinks they want dollars. And then we introduce them to Bitcoin. It's, it's a gateway to Bitcoin. And they find out about, the financial freedom that can come along with that and the long-term value that comes along with that. And so the way that we see it is, we can onboard many people that today want access to dollars globally and then get them to Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the point of Mogashni earlier, where it's like, what is the problem? Think of the problems first, and meet people where they're at before coming up with a solution. So I love that you're talking about all these things that help to meet people in the global south where they are and being realistic about their needs.
And by the way, shout out to your Financial Freedom newsletter. If anybody has not subscribed, I read it religiously, and to just learn about what's going on around the world. These are headlines that you would not
Thank
hear
you, guys.
Otherwise. They're not in the news, right? Like, the idea in a variety of economies, people's currencies are being debased. Like, this is not in the headlines in various, say, like, news outlets around the world. And one related point as well, I often think about, why should somebody, just because they're born in a certain place, have such a terrible financial policy where their currency is being devalued, they have hyperinflation, capital controls, living under authoritarian regimes, dictators. Bitcoin provides an answer to that, where I'm from the US. I'm lucky my country has a relatively stable monetary system. Lynn writes about this a lot. But we're in a world today where everyone should have equal democratized access to open source global free money. And Bitcoin is that solution. So incredibly grateful to the movement of Bitcoin to bring people to that where they have equal open access.
Yeah, well, for context, I'm half Venezuelan, half Bolivian, and two dictatorships really messed up. My family is everywhere around the world, wherever they could get a visa, and just sending each other money is a complete mess, frustrating. So I want to thank you for all your work that you're doing and how you're pushing just everything forward and really making people's lives better. And you're probably not seeing it because you're really in the weeds of leading Lightning Labs and being in this space, but there's a lot of people that are thanking you for your work.
Well, look, Lightning is a community. It's an open source protocol. We at Lightning Labs are building our implementation of Lightning. There are many Lightning developers here in the room. And what's so incredible about this community is anybody can get involved. Anybody can contribute code. They can help with documentation. We have people here that are educating the community. They're making videos, newsletters, zines. I got a cool zine this week as well. And the beauty of Bitcoin and Lightning is that anybody can contribute, anybody can get involved, and we welcome this community. Like, at the end of the day, we are building a movement. It's a movement for global, decentralized, free money that anyone can access. And I said this a couple years ago at the HRF event in Miami, but I truly believe that Bitcoin will topple dictatorships and brings financial freedom to the world. So we're working on it. We're a movement, and we're going to make that happen.
Amazing. Just one last question. Just so we end on a high note is, can you tell us the future of Lightning development? Maybe just what do you see in store for us over the next 6 months, maybe a year?
Bringing usability to Lightning, especially, say, in higher fee environments where we want people to be able to onboard. There are technologies like channel factories. We have some great privacy improvements, including blinded routes. We had a talk earlier on privacy. Lightning as a means to connect, say, Cashew, which we're going to hear about, Fediments, and other off-chain projects. Lightning, we want it to be this global interoperable layer 2 on Bitcoin that for other interesting technologies that are being developed can connect them all. Because at the end of the day, interoperability is key. You know, with the internet and with Bitcoin and Lightning, we want to be able to connect all the new technologies that are developing.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thanks, everybody.
It's so fun. Thank you all.